Where have we met this wet nose before? Where have we met this wet nose before?
Hi, oh my gosh, how are you doing, small world? Yeah. No, you remember me. You remember my name. No, we met last night at the place with the thing. Yeah. It's Jed. Hi, I'm Jed, and I'm here to talk to you about The Secret Circle. In like 2013 or something, the CW adapted The Secret Circle into a TV show that had like one season. And I was obsessed with this TV show, not because it was good, but because it was about magic, and Thomas Dekker had enchanting eyelashes. I was so obsessed with it that I hopped on my little Chromebook that I got from school, hopped on the Chromebook, pirated the books. Read them all. The CW also famously did The Vampire Diaries, which was a book series also written by this author, E.L. James. I don't think that's right. I think that is the 50 Shades author. I do get them confused because they have letter names. Those damn letter names, they always get me. But recently I was sitting in bed and I remember these books all of a sudden like a brain blast. And so I decided to read them and recap them for you. When I decided to do this, I started reading the book and I started writing my notes on physical paper because that's how I write all of my notes. But every script I have for this is like 8,000 words. So I don't know what I was thinking doing that, but that's what this hunk of paper is. Okay, chapter 1, we meet our main character, Cassie. Okay, and she's having the worst time ever on vacation in Cape Cod. I'm talking, it's hot as hell outside. She says she hates nature. And honestly, I get it. I live in Florida. Nature is a little bit abrasive. I will admit that. But Cassie is hanging out with this girl named Portia. Okay. And Portia is a bitch. Okay. She's super self centered. She's always talking about herself and her accomplishments, which makes Cassie feel really bad about herself. She's like, I've been here a month and I feel super inadequate, but I only have 1 week till I can go back to California with my friends. Sure, babe. Sure. Anyway, Portia's prattling on about something. Cassie's not listening. And Portia was like, are you listening? And Cassie was like, oh, yeah, for sure. And Portia's like, oh, yeah, then what did I say? And then Portia's like, oh, of course you don't know. Here, I'll say it again. Ew, that poor stinky boy. Ew, that poor stinky boy by the fisherman boats. And Cassie's like, what? Cassie looks over and it's the hottest man she's ever seen with a dog. So Portia's over yapping in Cassie's ears, spelling the word classism while she's watching this guy. And everyone around this guy is not really making eye contact. They're looking down. No one is talking. The vibe at the beach has gotten very weird. Oh, they're at the beach. So hot dog guy makes his way down the beach where schoolyard bully Portia goes, Cassie, look down, and Cassie automatically obeys because Portia's very like domineering. And she's like, why did I do that? That's so mean. And she's thinking that to herself when a dog nose comes up under her hands like that. And she looks up into the stranger's eyes and she describes him as follows. His eyes were blue-gray, like the sea at its most mysterious. His face was old, not conventionally handsome, but arresting and intriguing, with high cheekbones and a determined mouth. Proud and independent and humorous and sensitive all at once. As he looked down at her, his grim smile lightened, and something sparked in those blue-gray eyes, like sun glinting off the waves. What is that? Do I smell a love interest? I don't know. Could just be the fish.
Also, he's ginger.
So Cassie's in sort of a trance, like eye connecting with this guy. When Portia's like, Cassie, what the hell? And she thinks to herself in her brain, she's like, this isn't fair. And he replies out loud, life isn't fair. Psychic and emo. And then he leaves. Portia's now acting real weird around Cassie. And she's like, I have to go, you stay here. And then she mutters something under her breath. And Cassie's like, oh, I think she just called that boy a witch. But you can't call boys witches. She probably called him a bitch instead. So Portia tells her to go home. And instead of going home, she follows Hot Dog Fish Boy. And she doesn't find him, but she does pause by the waves and how it's like a reconnecting to nature moment. And she like writes a poem in her brain because she's a poet. Yes. She's like, sky and sea keep harm from me, earth and fire bring my desire. Ooh. And when she thinks this, she like freaks out. She's like, I did something. So she's real freaked out. She turns to go back when all of a sudden who appears? Hot Dog Fish Boy. And he's running. He's panicked. Cassie's like, why are you running? And he's like, 2 dudes chasing me. 2 dudes. They're on my back. They're chasing me. And they're friends. They're chasing me too. And Cassie's like, oh, well, you can't go that way. It's a dead end. And he's like, I can't go the other way. 2 dudes. And Cassie's like, here, hide in this boat that's right next to us, and I'll lead them away. And Hot Dog Fish Boy's like, they're dangerous. And Cassie's like, are they gonna beat me up? Yeah, girl. But he gets in the boat, and the 2 people chasing him like run up and question Cassie, and they like grab her. And in her inner monologue, she kind of like is like, go away. And then they do. Hot Dog Fish Boy comes out of the boat and they have like an exchange, and he thanks her. In her inner monologue, she says that she feels queer. Cassie is trans. Congrats, he. As Cassie's contemplating this queer rhetoric, she gets struck by an image of a silver cord like linking them together. I have silver cord written down. And she feels like she's known him for like a long time. But she shakes it off and she was like, why were they chasing you? And he was like, I was off my turf. If I were on my turf, they wouldn't even thought about chasing me. Okay. And he's like, I know it's not much to go on, especially after what you did for me. I wish there was some way to thank you. Oh, wait, there is. And he pulls this like rock out of his pocket and he's like, have this rock. If you feel lonely, squeeze it and think of me. And then he like vows revenge on the people who were like running after him, and then he leaves. And only then does Cassie realize she never got his number. All right, we finished with the paper notes. We move on to iPad. iPad is future. iPad is now. So Cassie goes back to the cottage that her and her mom were renting for the summer, and she's thinking about this boy, but her mom's on the phone and she sounds pissed off, dude. She's emanating those pissed mom vibes. And she informs Cassie that they're not going to go back home to California. But Cassie is a Cali girl, okay? She's undeniable. And as for the status of her Daisy Dukes, let's just say it's unconfirmed, because now she's moving to a town called New Salem, dude. New Salem? In a book about witches? I wonder what could happen. I wonder what could happen in the town of New Salem. I wonder what Cassie could discover about herself. It's like, you know, I know that Cassie doesn't know this about herself, but it's like we read the plot synopsis, we read the back of the book, we read the description of this video. We already know that Cassie's a witch, and this book really tries to bury it like it's a surprise. Like, they don't let you know for a while, and it drives me crazy because it's like, she's moving to a town called New Salem, wink, interesting, right? And it's like, I know she's a witch, I know, yeah! It's also revealed in this conversation that Cassie's mom and Cassie's grandmother have beef because Cassie's grandmother wanted Cassie's mom to follow a path that Cassie's mom didn't want to follow. Tea for later. And Cassie's like devastated. She's like, oh no, my friends. And then she's like, oh, the boy lives here. Hot Dog Fish Boy lives in this area. The power of a teenage girl with a crush. Honestly, Cassie, whatever you need to do to feel okay. But there's a voice whispering in her head. The same voice that was whispering in her head when she was making up that poem and she felt like she did something. The same voice that was like whispering in her head when she was talking to that boy. That voice is whispering to her now and telling her that maybe this is fate. But overall, she is feeling pretty down about having to move. Like, she can't even go back and see her friends. That's pretty devastating. So that night, she falls asleep holding the rock that Hot Dog Fish Boy gave her. The next morning, Cassie and her mom set out. Portia stops by one last time to call Cassie a bitch and a liar. And Cassie doesn't mention that she's not going back to California. Like, Portia's like, oh, I bet you're going back to California now. And Cassie's like, so that's tea for later. Not in this video, but like, hold on to it. Grip it in your hand. Eat it a little bit. Digest it, keep it in your stomach until the next video, or maybe the one after that. I don't remember which book it's in, but digest that information and keep it in you, okay? That will be important for later. Cassie and her mom are driving to her grandmother's house where she's going to be living now, and as they're driving, Cassie's mom like lore dumps. She's like, oh, the reason you can't find New Salem on a map is because it's so tiny. It's so tiny and it's an island, and there's only one bridge to the mainland, and it's really small and secluded. Awesome. And then they get there and Cassie doesn't like the house. Like, they get there and the house is like old and ancient and like low-key decrepit. And it's in a collection on a road with a bunch of other houses that all look old. They're all in various states of like looking good to bad. Cassie acts like hers like looks kind of bad, like it's one of the worst looking ones, and there's like some pretty nice ones, but they're all like grouped together. Interesting. Now, Cassie has been mostly holding back her feelings about how she feels about this to her mother, but like in the car right now, she crashes out. She's like, I fucking hate it here. I hate it, and it's stupid, and it's ugly. And you know, like, honestly, she's 16. You know what? I'm gonna give her a pass because she's 16 for doing that, and that's fine. Like, she did have to move across the country, all the way across the country without saying goodbye to her friends. You know, a little immature, yeah, but a valid reaction, kinda. That being said, if I have a 16-year-old and you're watching this, please don't do that. And then Cassie meets her grandmother for the first time. And if you remember, Cassie's mom and Cassie's grandmother have beef. So you can, how you say, cut the tension with a knife. Yeah, it's tense in there. But Cassie's grandmother is mostly welcoming, mostly nice. So Grandma Howard, Gimme Howard, takes Cassie to her bedroom, and it is pink head to toe. Alright, it is so pink in there. It's pink and gorgeous and decadent and beautiful, and she has her own fireplace. I am not jealous. No. And obviously when we were introduced to the area, it was introduced to be old, but here they say that it was like way back in the colonies is when this house was built. Do you know how long ago that was? I don't. I dropped out of high school. Cassie is then left alone to have a minute with herself, which she very much needs. She pulls out the rock that Hot Dog Fish Boy gave her and she squeezes it. Hello, coping mechanism. And also, lore drop, Cassie's dad left her. So now she's like, Hot Dog Fish Boy left me at the beach, just like how my dad left me. Girl, can you stand up? That's a big theme of this book, is that I just want Cassie to just stand up. Girl, just stand up. Oh my gosh. But yeah, Cassie's having a bad time. She's going down through like a spiral. She eventually drifts off to sleep, and she has this weird dream with her mom and her grandmother looking over her, and they're saying the word destiny, and they're talking about a sacrifice. I'm sure that means nothing. Low-key, it does kind of mean nothing though. Because like, yeah, destiny, sacrifice, whatever. But like, low-key, that means nothing. So yeah, if anyone's keeping score, we have destiny, we have sacrifices, we have talks of witches, and we have a town called New Salem. I don't know how it can be New Salem if it was from the colonies, but sure. Cassie wakes up, she tries to explore the house, but it's so big that she just gets lost and goes outside. I wish I had that problem, Cassie. I really do. As she's walking outside, she goes and she walks around the block, and she goes and stands in front of the prettiest house on the block. And inside the prettiest house on the block, there's the prettiest girl on the block. Cassie's peeping Toming it up, and she feels sort of a kinship with this girl, okay? She thinks that she's so gorgeous, so beautiful, she's so entranced by her. She says that she's perfect, and her house is perfect, this girl is perfect, everything about her is perfect. This is perfect girl. And she seems to have everything that Cassie wants, because Cassie's a little bit insecure with herself. She's not very confident yet. Cassie goes back inside for breakfast. She has the thought that her grandmother looks like a witch. Funny. She specifically says that her grandmother looks like she should be saying double, double, toil in trouble. Cassie got her. Cassie got that one. Okay, now it's the first day of school. And Cassie is like kind of dreading it, but she's also like kind of excited because she gets to have this chance to like reinvent herself socially, you know, be who she wants to be. And she has the thought that maybe she could even be good enough to the girl with the shiny golden hair. The perfect girl who lives in the perfect house she wants. When Cassie gets out of the car to go to school, she gets out of the car and she goes, I'm not shy, I'm Cassie the Confident, which I think is just really sweet. Like, she gives herself a little nickname like a king. And I thought that was really endearing, so it's worth mentioning here. But almost immediately, someone almost hits Cassie with a motorcycle, okay? And the motorcycle driver's a girl. Yeah, girls can drive motorcycles too. Yeah, this was written in the 90s, and you can tell by reading it. And Cassie looks at this girl, because she's like stunningly, shockingly gorgeous, beautiful. Cassie looks at this girl, and the girl looks back and she's like, what are you staring at? And Cassie apologizes. Like, girl, get up and yell at her. And then mean bitch motorcycle girl is like, yeah, you better be sorry. What the hell? It's like TV bullying. But Cassie goes to her first class and she meets this guy named Jeffrey Lovejoy. Last name, if I've ever heard one, Lovejoy. Yeah. But he's like kind of low-key flirting with Cassie. Like, he's trying to entertain her. He's like interested in her because she's like the new girl at a very small town. When this beautiful, gorgeous, terrifying girl walks in and she's like, oh, you don't want her. She lives on Crowhaven Road. And Jeffrey backs off. He's like, yeesh, I don't want any of that. I don't want a piece of that pie. No, I don't. And this girl, her name is Faye. She's also like flirting with Jeffrey in this very weird way. She's like kind of just like telling him that he'll go on a date with her. And he's like, I got a date with Sally, this other girl, Sally. And she's like, not anymore, you don't. You have a date with me now. And it's very like weird and strange, but it's a good character establishing moment for her. Then class starts and their class assignment is to write a poem. And Faye writes a poem about fire and then she like lights it on fire and does like the whole paper fire thing. And it's like, okay, this diva's kind of cooking. She's cooking with fire. Yes. But everyone seems just sort of like scared of Faye. So they're just letting her do it. And as class dismisses, Cassie's like, how weird. I also wrote a poem about fire. Just two cavemen banging their clubs against the ground, writing poems about fire. Cassie gets out of class. There's two people in the hallway just causing an absolute ruckus, okay? Their name is the Henderson Brothers. The Henderson Brothers, those are my boys. The Henderson Brothers, those are my sons. Those are my sons. Cassie's like, why doesn't anyone stop them? And they're like, stop the Henderson Brothers. They're like, she doesn't know about the club. Interesting. When it gets to lunchtime, Cassie's a little bit too intimidated to eat in the cafeteria, so she goes outside and eats by these like rocks. When all of a sudden, Faye and motorcycle girl, her name's Deborah, and another girl walk up, and Cassie like scrambles behind the rock because it seems like they're trying to have a private conversation, but like Cassie like can't leave because now she's behind the rock and she's scared of these girls. Faye says that she wants to do something wicked this year, and they're like plotting and scheming, and one of the girls mentions that they could do something to Jeffrey, the guy from English class. And then there's someone named Nick mentioned, and Faye really pushes back on that. She says to pick an outsider. Okay. And then there's more talk. They mention this Sally character again, and you get the sense that they really don't like her because they put her on a hate list. But before we can get too far into the conversation, a group of kids come up and they're like, Faye, there's no room in the cafeteria. We're gonna eat here, okay? And Faye's like, no, not okay. And so they all leave except for one girl named Corey. Corey's like, Faye, can I stay? And Faye's like, of course you can stay, Corey. She said, I just imagined you'd be eating with the Princess of Purity and the rest of the goody goodies. And then they sort of embarrass Corey to the point that she leaves. But new character alert, Corey. And then Faye mentions that she needs Corey on her side because there's only one candidate and one empty space. Whatever that could mean. And then Sally shows up. Sally, we've heard her. She shows up on stage and she's kind of a bitch. But Faye's a bitch too. They get into it. They have beef because Jeffrey and Sally are kind of a thing and he only agreed to go out with Faye because he's scared of her. But Sally's like, how dare you do that? And the situation like escalates and Sally like puffs up and she's like, I'm going to take a stand to you, Faye. And Faye's like, how can you take a stand to me when you're on your back? And then she like does a flicking motion, but she doesn't touch Sally. She doesn't touch her. But Sally, like, falls on her back. And before she can, like, hit a rock or a boulder or something, Cassie, who has been hiding this whole time, dives out to help Sally. And Sally's, like, a bitch about it. She's like, who the fuck are you? Why are you touching me? And it's like, be thankful, be humble. But she leaves, and honestly, good riddance. But then the girls kind of interrogate Cassie because she gave up her spot. And they're like, how long have you been there? And she's like, I've been here long enough. And they just kind of like beef out. The rest of the day passes without consequence. But the next day at school, Cassie opens her locker and there's a doll hanging by the neck. Oh my God. Cassie goes to report it to the principal, but the principal's on some like, I don't give a fuck vibes. He's like, I let the students handle all of that. You handle that, Cassie. L in the chat for Cassie. R.I.P. Cassie. It's rough for her. It's rough for her. And then Cassie's in class and her backpack starts moving out of the corner of her eye and she like freaks out. She's like, there's something in my backpack. And the teacher goes to check and it's Rubber Snake. It's a rubber snake. Like, the bullies are doing cartoon bully shit, and honestly, it's like kind of really funny. Like, that's really funny. If I were a witch, I would also hide a snake in a backpack of someone that I don't like and then like make it come alive. But they're like psychologically torturing her. She goes to the cafeteria, she tries to sit at a table, and everyone moves away from her. It's bad. It's bad for Cassie. The next day at school, there's a bird in her locker. A stuffed one, not a dead one, thank God. But the next day at school, there's a dead goldfish in her locker. Cassie doesn't even try going to the cafeteria. She just goes straight to the library to eat lunch with the losers when all of a sudden she sees her. Who is it? The girl with the shiny golden hair, Miss Perfect Girl. And her name is Diana. New character drop, Diana. Do I smell a love interest? I don't, but it would be really awesome if I did. It would be really awesome if I smelled that. The next day, Cassie's locker is filled with hamburger meat. Cassie doesn't even try opening her locker anymore, and so she's in the hallway, and Faye takes her backpack, and she starts playing monkey in the middle with Cassie. Like, Cassie's in the middle, there's someone else, and they're monkey in the middle in her backpack over her. Which, I don't know if you guys have played monkey in the middle, but it is actually the worst game in the world. Like, it's so demoralizing and dehumanizing. But then someone catches the backpack and gives it back to Cassie. Who gives it back to Cassie? Nick. New character alert. Then Cassie goes to some fucking class and someone drops a note on her desk. Oh my god, who drops a note on her desk? It doesn't matter. I did not write it down. But the note says to go to the old science building. So Cassie does. So then Cassie's like, oh, gee, maybe a friend. So she goes to the old science building and it's Faye. Yeah, it's Faye. Faye's like, did you like the little presents I left in your locker, Cassie? I bet you've been sleeping like shit, haven't you, Cassie? And Cassie's like, how did they know I've been sleeping like shit? Because she's been sleeping like shit. Faye reveals that she stole Cassie's poem when she was playing like monkey in the middle with her backpack. And Cassie's poem, I don't know if you remember, I said it was about fire, but it's also about like desire. It's low-key about Hot Dog Fish Boy that she met at the beach. So it's like embarrassing for Cassie to have Faye have this poem. We also get a lore dump that the old science building is the old science building because the Henderson brothers blew it up with a bomb they made in class. Awesome. But yeah, then Faye reads out Cassie's poem. And then she takes the poem and she lights it on fire with her mind. Cassie looks into the fire for a moment and she like connects with it. And she's like, I bet I could control this fire with my mind. But then she's like, no, I'm tweaking. Because again, to Cassie, witchcraft is not real. So she's just having like kind of insane thoughts. She's like, I can control this fire with my mind. And it's like, I mean, you could try. But before anything can happen, beautiful, gorgeous person Diana saves Cassie. And Faye and Diana have beef. They have beef. This is Beef City book. But Diana helps Cassie, and Diana's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Cassie. I'm your neighbor. And all of a sudden, Diana's very interested in Cassie. Again, living at Crowhaven Road. There's something about living at Crowhaven Road. They've got that Crowhaven Road glow. I took a quick break. I had 2 energy drinks. In the past half hour, I have exceeded the medical limit for caffeine, so I'm jazzed up and I'm ready to film this video. I'm ready. I also put on my hoodie and my glasses. That's right. I've been lying to you. This whole time you could see my face, but I could not see yours. That all changes, for I can see you now. Y'all don't want to see a guy do improv, and that's fine. Just don't lie about it. I can tell. Sorry if you can hear drilling outside of my house. It's because they're drilling outside of my house. Diana offers to take Cassie home, but first they stop at Diana's house. Notably, Cassie lives at number 12 Old Crowhaven Road. Diana lives at number 1. But yeah, at Diana's house, they kind of lock into Bestie City. They're like, we're gonna be sisters. I've always wanted a sister, and I've always wanted a sister. So together we will be sisters together for each other. Which, it's my favorite thing when a book has a female character get so close to another female character, they can't just be best friends. They have to be sisters. And that makes shipping them together a little weird. Cassie has spent this whole book ogling Diana, thinking about how perfect and beautiful she is. Of course they have to be sisters because otherwise it is gay. It's gay. So Cassie kind of talks to Diana about what's been going on with Faye, and Diana's like, all right, we're gonna have a hangout. She invites 2 other girls to go hang out with Cassie and Diana. and they have dinner, and it's cute, it's fun, it's like good for them. But the conversation is a little weird, you know, not weird in a bad way, but the friends that Diana invited, they're talking about like earth and nature in a very, you know, personified way. The same way that Cassie thought about like the rocks under her feet back when she was connecting to nature in Cape Cod, or like connecting to the fire. Cassie's like, interesting. And I'm like, yeah, that is interesting, Cassie. What do you think that means? Diana takes Cassie home, and as she takes Cassie home, we get a lore drop that Diana is in the club. Now, if you remember, the Henderson brothers are in the club, and so is Faye. Cassie is really shocked because she's like, Diana, perfect Diana, is in the club. And Diana's like, don't judge the club. Like, I know I'm with Faye, but there's good in Faye. Like, I can't tell you anything more, but just trust me. And Cassie's like, yeah, sure, okay, totally normal. Nothing magical or mystical going on here. That's a normal thing for someone to say. At school, Cassie kind of falls into step with Diana, and that's when she learns that Diana has a boyfriend, but he's away right now on a secret mission. Again, do not mind the drilling. But apparently they're like the perfect couple. They have been together since like preschool, elementary school, childhood. I just wrote childhood. They've been together since childhood. So montage. Everything is going well for Cassie socially. She's been accepted by Diana and thus accepted by everyone because the club kind of runs the school and gets whatever they want. And Diana, much like the other one, is the people's princess. And one day, Cassie goes up to Diana and is like, Diana, can I join the club? And Diana's like, no, Cassie, you can't. Yeah, she's like, if you want to go back to California, you can't join the club. If you join the club, you can't really leave. And Cassie's like, what the hell? What does that mean? But she also remembers that Corey is joining the club and that there's only one spot. Ugh. Someone's got to do something about Corey, I guess. And then one day, Cassie and Diana are at school early because they're setting up for Corey's birthday party. It's Corey's birthday. And then she's going to get initiated into the club later because there's like an age limit situation. As they're getting ready, they're setting up banners. Cassie looks down the stairs and sees Corey's dead body. Y'all mind if your children's book got a little bit of dead body in it? Y'all mind? I don't mind. Later in the day, the kids that are all in this club are debating if one of them could have done it. Like maybe Corey was on the wrong side of the club. Hello, I am editing this right now, and I forgot to mention that throughout all of this, the Henderson brothers, my boys, the Henderson brothers, I love them, my sons. Their sister is Corey. They're her older brother, so they're distraught throughout all of this. They've got stake in the game. It's important to note, I forgot to mention, I'm so sorry, and it will never happen again. I swear it will never happen again. I'm so sorry. And Cassie's listening to all of this, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? But this club wants to have a meeting, so they kind of ice her out. Cassie tries to go back to class, but can't really focus. Everyone's like offering her condolences, and she feels like it's like stolen valor, like friend grief, stolen valor, because she didn't really know Corey. Like she spoke to her once or twice, but she's more friends with Diana. Diana's her friend. She didn't know Corey. And so she crashes out. She's like, I didn't fucking know the bitch. And then Cassie's teacher drives her home. Cassie's real messed up after seeing Corey's dead body. When she gets home, she just kind of paces along the cliffside and the beach. And she's like, I envy Corey because even though she's dead, at least she had a place where she belonged. Because Cassie didn't feel too good about being iced out of the meeting earlier. And Cassie contemplates like going in the ocean and drowning. Like she's in the trenches. And I'm going to be honest, like really serious subject matter, but I think she's being ridiculous. Like, oh my God, Cassie, it's just, you know, sensitive topic, but just stand up, girl, stand up. And she does stand up. She stands up and goes home to pout while holding the rock that hot dog fish boy gave her. And she drifts off to sleep when all of a sudden she wakes up from her sleep. And oh no, she's being abducted. She's being abducted and she's tweaking. She's freaking out. Oh my God. And I would too. But she's like, it's the killer. It's skeletons. It's ghosts. Cassie, stand up. Oh my God. Pull yourself together. This girl cannot do anything. She can't process emotions healthily. She can't fight off a kidnapper. She hardly knows her. But surprise, surprise, it's the members of this mythical club. They take Cassie down to the beach. and they do this weird ritual initiation with a knife. And they're like, Cassie, if you're scared, throw yourself onto this knife because it would be better than what's gonna come. And it's like, okay, that's intense. But Cassie has a thought. She's like, I trust Diana. Diana wouldn't put me in harm. You know, she's my sister, she's my friend. And because I trust Diana, I'm not scared. I'm not scared, you know? She's got me. And so they swear her in. They swear her to be loyal to the circle because they're a circle. And it's very official, very binding sounding, you know? And before they say the final words, someone steps up and she's like, no, I don't think Cassie is one of us. And everyone's like, what? What? Who is it? Who is it? It's Deborah. And she's one of Faye's lackeys, so it's like she's like Evil Light Junior Core. But she's like, I don't think she's one of us because her dad was an outsider. It's like, okay, blood purity. What is it with like fictional media for children that involves witches and wizards also involving blood purity? Why do we need the light blood purity in our children's media? And Diana, she's had enough of it, okay? Because she's getting pushed back from Faye. She's getting pushed back from Faye's side of the circle this whole time. And she's like, do you want to never have a full circle? Is that what you want? To never be at full power? Huh? That's what you're gonna get if you don't get Cassie in the circle, babe. That's what you're gonna get, yeah. Do you want to wait till your parents or the Henderson parents have another baby? Because all the rest of our parents are dead. Yeah, they can't have any more kids because they're dead. So do you want that? Do you want to wait for a baby to be raised until we can adopt it into the circle? Do you want to wait for that? That's what I thought. This whole time, Cassie still doesn't know what's going on. She's like, can I have just a shred of context, please? Just a little bit of context. But they don't give it to her. They keep arguing. They're like, they don't want us to have a full circle. Our parents don't want us to have a full circle because they're scared. Someone is like, do you not want a full complete circle? And Faye is like, oh, I can complete the circle on my own. And it's not a real circle unless we get a hold of the master tools. Important plot device, the master tools. And then Faye's like, I'm not the one searching for them, looking Diana up and down. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. A lot going on right now. Can we finish swearing Cassie in? Like, damn. And Deborah pipes up again. She's like, how do you even know if Cassie can use the powers? And Diana's like, I do. I can sense it in her. And then surprisingly, Faye's like, I know also. She can use at least fire and earth. What the hell? So they finally finish swearing Cassie in this weird ritual circle thing. And there's a little bit of like tension going on with Cassie and Nick, like all nonverbal. But Nick is always described as being very hot, like very hot, but also cold and distant. He's obviously not the main love interest, but there is something with Cassie and Nick. Like there's a little Cassie and Nick drama going on nonverbally, like to the background of all of this. They're making eyes at each other. They're interested. And then they finally explain to Cassie that she is a witch. Me personally, you know, there's so many hints in the book that it would have felt more gratifying if Cassie figured that out on her own, you know, because we, the audience, all know that Cassie's a witch and we kind of go along with her on her journey to find that and discover that out. And at like the titular moment where she's finding it out, she's being told. Like there were a bunch of other hints and setups for her to just figure it out. It would have felt so much better, but they tell her. But yeah, they explain to her that they're witches, that they're a circle of witches. The magic system in this book is kind of like a mix between like modern like Wicca and like old school witchcraft. So it's like they like perform like witchcraft spells in a circle. It's not like they like cast out fire. They're like fireball. It doesn't work like that. Like they have to do like incantations and like they have herbs and crystals and stuff. Yada yada yada, blood purity, yada yada yada, inbreeding. They explain that their families, their 12 families, are all from Salem and that their ancestors were the last witches, and during the witch trials they came over and started New Salem so that they would all be safe. It's also established that the people in the town like low-key know that they're witches, and that's why the circle gets to like run shit, because they're like different and powerful, and like the townspeople like low-key know that. They know that they're like different and like kind of magical, and they had like sort of a truce, but the outsiders, as they call them, don't really necessarily like them because they're menaces. And so it seems that they like lived in harmony, but not anymore because someone killed Corey. And they're thinking that the outsiders did it. They're thinking that they pushed Corey down the steps. Susan is another one of Faye's lackeys. Like Faye's main lackeys are Deborah and Susan. And then Diana and her lackeys are Melanie and Laurel. Okay, those are like the 6 girls other than Cassie. Anyway, the meeting concludes and Susan goes behind a rock and picks up several like cans of wet soda. They're described as wet. And I I knew I didn't like Susan. When stuff is like wet and like damp and shit is sticking to it, especially paper, ooh, it chills my bones, grosses me the fuck out. I knew I didn't like you, Susan. I knew I didn't like your fucking ass. I do have a lot of empathy for Susan, though, because every single time she's mentioned in the book, it's just mentioned that she's, like, eating. You know, she's just eating a lot. I don't know if they mentioned her to be, like, bigger or, like, fat in the book. If they did, I missed it, but it feels like one of those characters that has, like, an archetype of, like, oh, haha, they're always eating because they're bigger and they're always eating, ha, ha, ha. Like, that's how it feels, and it feels very mean-spirited. So I want to put some like justice for Susan right here. Justice for Susan. But Cassie starts talking to Laurel and Melanie, Diana's lackeys, and she's asking them like everything that they can do with magic, and she's like low-key asking about a love spell, and she's thinking about Hot Dog Fish Boy. She's like, I can draw him to me. And Laurel and Melanie kind of start talking about like spell writing, and Cassie like kind of pieces together that she has a knack for spell writing because she does poetry. So she starts thinking about like this spell to draw Hot Dog Fish Boy to her. But she doesn't even have to worry because all of a sudden a wet nose pushes up under her hand.
Where have we met this wet nose before? Where have we met this wet nose before?
That's right.
It's him. It's him. He's the dog. He's the dog. I'm just kidding. Obviously. But it's Hot Dog Fish Boy. And he is here. Cassie is elated until he walks over to Diana. Yeah, Hot Dog Fish Boy is Diana's boyfriend. Adam. Hot Dog Fish Boy's name is Adam, so now I can stop calling him Hot Dog Fish Boy. But yeah, it's rough. It's rough for Cassie. Like Hot Dog Fish Boy's dog, it's real rough, you know? It's actually low-key a little bit embarrassing too, because this whole book, Cassie has been talking about like this boy that she met at the beach that like awakened her desire and that there was something between them. Adam sees Cassie and they have like a staring connection thing like they did the first time before like Diana sees him. And like obviously they're having a moment, but Diana doesn't even notice. She's just so happy Adam's back, and Cassie starts crying into Adam's dog. Yeah, it's rough for her. It's bark, bark, bark for her. Diana doesn't even notice that her new bestie sister is ogling her boyfriend that she's in love with. Can I say that they should have been a throuple? Can I say that? They're in high school, but like I don't mean it in a weird way. I just think it would have solved a lot of their problems. Also, something that you pick up through conversation is that Adam and Nick have beef. Like there's tension between them. So it's like the two hotties have beef. Oh no. Adam gets on Nick and he's like, Nick isn't doing enough to help out with the club. And Nick was like, you know what? I'm here. And now I'm not. I'm leaving. And Cassie, she just pisses me off. You know, because there's all this interpersonal drama going on. What with like the dynamics between like Faye and Diana and now Nick and Adam and like the power structure of the circle of this whole new world that she just discovered. And she's too busy thinking about how she wants her new best friend's sister's boyfriend. Adam and Diana, Adam. What the fuck is going on with Nick? How about that? Like, what is his problem? He's so moody. He seems to like hate magic. He's like a witch and he's like, I have to endure these circle meetings. Cassie, maybe poke into that a little bit. And even Cassie's like, actually, that's a little bit weird because there's like only 12 witches left in the world because they were like the last coven. So this is the last coven. There's only 12 of us left in the world. 11, not counting me. You can do magic. Like, what the hell, Nick? And Cassie's like processing thoughts very, very fast. Like all of her inner monologue is like going by really fast. She's like processing all of this and she's like, oh, I should have like come up with this because like Portia literally called him a witch, and then I met all of these strange kids and they had a weird energy about them, and I keep having these thoughts about witchcraft. And then her thoughts drift to Diana, and then she like looks at Diana and Adam, and then she like reflects on like this silver cord that she saw between Adam and her, and she's like, I hate Diana. I hate her because I want her boyfriend. And then she like quickly snaps out of it and is like, no, Diana can never know, and never can Adam. They can never know that I'm in love with Adam. They never will know. And she like makes a vow to herself. And it's like, whoa, okay, Cassie, maybe pump the brakes. And Cassie obviously is acting like weird because of all of this that's going on in her mind. And so Diana's like, are you okay?
And Cassie says, yeah, I'm fine. There's all this interpersonal drama going on around you, and there's witch hunters that maybe killed one of your ranks. And Cassie's like, oh, I did the bravest thing ever and told Diana that I'm fine. Girl, I can tell you right now that you have bigger problems. Adam, of course, recognizes Cassie, and he tries to tell the circle that they met over the summer, and Cassie just keeps talking over Adam, like desperate for them not to know. She keeps talking over him. And he does get the hint and like kind of backs off. And then he tells the circle that he found one of the master tools. You remember the master tools? I said they were going to be a plot device. Well, Adam found one of them, and they have been searching reportedly since they found out that they were witches. It's a crystal skull that was buried on an island off of Boston, and it was like magically protected. It tried to fight him off. Adam had to use like the power of like water and like air to like propel his boat forward. And the skull is reportedly very evil. And it's a crystal skull. It's like Indiana Jones, which is fucking sick. Ugh, that's my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I know it's low-key the worst one, but I have childhood memories with my grandmother watching that movie. So I don't care what you say about the Crystal Skull being the worst Indiana Jones movie. Why don't you suck my big fat cock? But yeah, the skull is out, and Faye immediately tries to start grabbing for it. She's like, where'd you get it? Where'd you find it? It's so pretty. Let me look at it. Which is so in character for her. You know, it's just like such a nice little character building moment. Faye is so Faye. Like, she is so herself in these books, and I do really like it. I do really appreciate it. But they're trying to keep information from her. Like, she's the most evil person in the world. Like, she's just a little selfish. But they're like, Faye cannot know about this. So they're being really mysterious with the answers. But through this interaction, we get some lore, okay? The master tools were hidden and scattered by this really evil guy from the original Coven named Black John. I will be calling him John Black because that's what the TV show says. It rolls off the tongue better, and I'm going to be honest, saying the words Black John just feels a little weird. But because it was owned by Master Super Evil John Black, they have to purify the skull before they can use it. So they can't like unlock it right now because Faye wants to like unlock it and use it. And Diana's like, we have to purify it and make sure no evil energy is attached to the skull. So they can't use that right now. But Cassie looks at the skull and she's like, yeah, there's definitely a dark and evil energy vibe coming from it. And she thinks to herself, should I say that out loud, that I can basically see the dark evil energy coming from this skull? And then she's like, no, that would be kind of stupid to say out loud because they're all witches. They can obviously also all sense this dark and evil energy, which is honestly a good thought process and something I also would think. So I like the realism for like the missing information between all of the links. But Cassie forgot one thing, and that is that she is the main character in a YA series, so she has super mystical powers that no one else has. Silly Cassie. But we're not going to talk about that yet. We haven't gotten that reveal yet. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. But Diana decides that she's going to take the skull for safekeeping and purify it before they use it. And Cassie is kind of at her limits. You know, she's seeing Diana and Adam be this unified front against Faye, and she's getting like really emotionally drained. She just found out like all of this information about herself. It entirely changed her worldview, and information is being thrown at her left and right, and now her crush is with her best friend. So she's like, I think I'm gonna go home before anyone notices that I'm acting weird around Adam. And of course, Faye notices that she's acting weird around Adam. Like, Faye doesn't really say anything, but she looks Cassie up and down and she's like, girl, I'm on to you. And then Cassie goes home, and when she goes home, her mom and her grandmother are together waiting up for her. And they obviously know that she's done the initiation ritual. And so Cassie, to break the tension, is like, so do we have a Book of Shadows? The Book of Shadows is like a book of spells that all of the families have. So far, they only found Diana's Book of Shadows, so no one else knows where theirs are. But every family theoretically has a Book of Shadows. And Cassie's grandmother smiles and she goes, no, we haven't found it yet, but we can look, Cassie. So Cassie doesn't really have to hide that secret from her family, which is good because Cassie is stupid. She would totally slip up. Okay, it's a new day, and we get a little bit more insight into the Diana-Faye power struggle. They are cousins who were both born on the same day. And to be the leader of the circle, you have to be a certain age. Neither of them are that age, but Diana's kind of the de facto leader right now. But Faye's trying to rally the forces so that when the time comes, she gets voted in as leader over Diana. They're like low-key foils, low-key two sides of the same coin. Like, Diana is like kind of viewed as like good and pure, and Faye is like the shadow to that. You know, No light can exist without shadow, and the same is true for Faye and Diana. While all of this is going on, of course, Cassie is thinking about Adam shirtless and how handsome he is. You know, Cassie has spent this whole book pining after him after meeting him once, and now that she's seeing him in her day-to-day life, I cannot imagine how much worse for her it's gonna get. It's really bad. But over the course of this meeting, Diana's kind of worn down a little bit because remember, she wants to purify the skull before they use it. Faye is fighting really hard for them to just use it. So Diana comes up with a compromise of like, okay, we'll just turn it on. We're just turning it on and nothing else. Which it's like, is it a light switch? Okay. The day that they're supposed to activate the crystal switch, Cassie goes over to Diana's house and kind of gets a crash course in like crystals and different things. We find out that you have to have a working crystal, like crystals that you feel really connected to. Cassie hasn't found hers yet, obviously, but a tendril for story for later. This is also where Cassie finds out that the rock that hot dog fish boy, Adam, gave her on the beach was given to him by Diana. So she's feeling a little sick to her stomach, to the point where people ask her if she's okay. And she lies. She's like, I'm just nervous about the ceremony tonight. Girl, Cassie has witch stolen valor. But yeah, we also learned that crystals kind of absorb the energy of the last person who used it. And obviously the last person who used the skull was evil John Black. And Diana's like, yeah, I think he might have used it to like people. Like, I think he used it for that. And Cassie's like, oh, okay.
But then Cassie gets distracted by Adam again. She sees how happy Diana is with Adam, and it's a little sweet. It's kind of sweet. I don't necessarily dislike the plot line because it's like so drama. It's like so drama-tea, but they are overdoing it a little bit much. Like every thought Cassie has is about Adam, and it's like, girl, you can control fire with your mind.
I do recognize that I am not the target audience for this, you know? So there's that. But now it's the skull activating ceremony thing, and Cassie gets stuck sitting between the two people she doesn't want to sit next to, Faye and Adam. And Cassie notices that Faye kind of gets out of line, so she's not sitting next to Adam. And Cassie's like, weird, Faye must not want to sit next to Adam. It's like, Cassie, girl, open your eyes, open your stupid little eyes. She gets played like a fiddle, poor girl. Poor girl. But Diana's like, all right, we're starting. Important notes. No one breaks the circle. You do not break the circle for anything. No breaking the circle. Everyone stays seated. And also, don't go too deep into the crystal. Like, don't look too hard at it. Cassie, of course, immediately starts looking too hard into it. She connects with the deep, dark evil that's in there. And she's like, oh my God, this is so freaky. When next to Faye, Sean, another guy in the circle, he doesn't really matter too much to the plot of the books. Like in the future books, everyone's characters get fleshed out a little bit more, but not really Sean. Like his thing is that he's cowardly. He starts freaking out. And Faye also starts freaking out because she's sitting next to him. And he's like, Faye's trying to break the circle. And Faye's like, no, he's trying to break the circle. He's like, no, Faye's trying to grab the skull. And he's like, no, he was trying to run away. But the circle gets broken. All of the candles go out, and like a whoosh of dark energy goes out of the skull and like leaves the garage that they're in. Nick is sitting there, he's on his I don't give a fuck shit. He's like, the dark energy in the skull's out, and Diana's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, we have to track it. She's like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And Diana throughout this whole book has been really calm and collected, so her losing her shit and getting kind of mad is like interesting. It's like, oh, this is serious business. And Faye uses this outburst immediately to her advantage. She turns to the circle and she's like, do you really want to be led by someone who treats you like this? And Adam is like, girl, I want to beat you up. Like, I just simply want to punch you. He says specifically that he wishes Faye was a guy with the implication that he wants to beat her up. But Faye was like, oh, I didn't know you swing that way because being gay is funny. And this is true. But yeah, so tensions are really high because Adam and Diana get into like a little tiff. They start arguing, but they're arguing in a way that is like very them. Like they're having a debate off, but it's like obvious to everyone, even Cassie, who doesn't pick up jack shit, that they're arguing. Adam's kind of on his downer shit because he's like, shit. Power's so evil, we shouldn't have been messing with this. We just released this dark energy, this power's evil. And Diana's on her Second Amendment, like, pro-gun shit. She's like, power isn't evil. Only what you do with power is evil. And Adam's like, all power will make you evil, which I think is actually really interesting. They don't really delve into this or flesh out Adam's character too extremely much because he's a little bit of just background. But, like, I want to know the types of thoughts that he's having in his own mind for him to be thinking this. Because obviously he would also be thinking about himself when he's talking about this. I just thought that was an interesting line, and they don't delve more into it, and I wanted them to delve more into it. Anyway, the circles kind of just devolved into arguments. They're clearly not going to decide what to do about this evil energy tonight. They're too, like, hopped up, and Cassie has had enough of looking at Adam and Diana, so she's like, I'm gonna go home.
And Diana's like, you're not gonna walk home with all that evil out there.
Melanie and Laurel will stay here with me and purify the skull with me. Adam can take you back home. T, bitch!
Oh, T, Diana, what you do for the plot.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Diana, for the plot. Everyone say, thank you, Plot Queen Diana. Thank you, Plot Queen Diana.
Diana says you're welcome.
This will be the first time that Adam and Cassie are alone together since the first day they met on the beach. And everything's going pretty well. Adam walks Cassie home, and they're just about home, and she's like, haha, I'm in the clear. When Adam's like, wait, why didn't you want anyone to know that we had met before?
And Cassie's like, oh, I just didn't want anyone to get the wrong idea.
Like, it just didn't seem very important. And Adam's like, okay, girl. And Cassie's like, oh, by the way, I have your rock that you gave me. I don't need it anymore since I'm going to find my own working stone. Haha, you can give it back to Diana now. And Cassie's like kind of flirting with him. She's like, don't want to give anyone the wrong impression now, do we? And it's like, Cassie, that's not very Adam will never know. Diana will never know what you feel for Adam of you, is it? And like in her mind, she's like willing him to not like question her about this and why she's acting so weird. And so she turns to go, and he's like, wait, you tried to mind control me, Cassie. You've changed. You've changed. And then he does this whole speech. He's like, listen, when I met you that day on the beach, I didn't know that you were a witch. I thought you were just some pretty ordinary girl. And Cassie's like, OMG, he thinks I'm pretty. But he continues. He's like, I just thought that you were an outsider and that you stood up for me, and that was good for outsider relations with witches. It gave me hope. And now I know you're a witch, and I'm like happy. He's like, I knew you were special and that you weren't like anyone else and that you didn't reject like mysterious and mystical things. And he's like, you were tolerant. And Cassie says, not as tolerant as Diana. And Adam's like, this has nothing to do with Diana. He's like, this has nothing to do with Diana. He makes it very clear that what's going on is between him and Cassie, and he's not even thinking about cheating on Diana. That's his girl. Remember that. But he's like, I thought I could trust you with my life because you protected me, and afterwards I had a special understanding with you, and I thought about you, Cassie. I was waiting to tell Diana about you because I wanted to tell her about like outsider relations and that they could trust us. But this whole time I have never been sorry that I gave you that stone, but I am sorry that I can't tell Diana how special you are. He's like, and I want to know why. And Cassie's like, okay, I'm in love with you. And she tells him everything she's been thinking. She's like, I thought we were soulmates. I thought there was like this connection between you and I. I saw a silver cord connecting us, but now I see that I'm wrong and that you've got Diana. And he shut her up in her monologuing. He goes, Cassie. And Cassie takes a moment, and she can still see that shimmering cord between them.
Sorry for the lighting change. The sun went down. But yeah, they connect again with their eyes once again. These two are always connecting with their eyes, and then they kiss. T. Yeah, after they're done kissing, Cassie's like, oh my god, it's destiny. Oh my god, wait, Diana. And she starts crying in her best friend's boyfriend's arms. Yes, she does. And she's like, no, Diana, we betrayed Diana. And Adam's distraught. Cassie's like, you still love her, don't you? And Adam's like, yeah, I do. Which, like, yeah, obviously he does. But Cassie's like, no, yeah, that's good. That's good. You and Diana will stay together, and we'll never tell her about this. We'll never tell her. And they do a blood oath to swear that they will never betray Diana again. Guys, ugh. But then Cassie goes into her house and she's feeling all mixed up emotionally. And so she just goes to bed. And the next morning she wakes up to a letter from Faye. And Cassie's first instinct is to call Diana about this, but then she's like, no, I don't want to bother Diana because Diana's probably been up all night purifying the skull. I'll just do what Faye wants. And what Faye wants is for Cassie to go over to her house. So Cassie goes over to her house. No one knows that she's there with Faye. And Faye's like, listen, Cassie, I have friends and they hear things and they see things. Now, if I'm Cassie and I just kissed my best friend's boyfriend and there's an evil girl on the loose, my first thought would be, oh, Faye knows. Faye knows. And Faye does know. Cassie's blindsided by this. She's like, what? How could you know? And it's like, girl, she's evil. She's not evil, but she's kind of evil. Anyway, Faye is using this information to blackmail Cassie into getting her the crystal skull. And for some reason, Cassie decides that it's better for everyone if she just goes along with this blackmail and gets the evil Crystal Skull to evil Faye instead of just owning up to her mistake, which it's like, yeah, okay. Faye does emotionally manipulate her a little bit. She's like, you're going to break Diana's heart if she finds out, so you'll get me that skull, okay? And Cassie disagrees. No backbone on this one. None. And that is the end of the book. I would like to thank anyone who stuck around to... I would like to extend a sincere thank you to anyone who stuck around because I had quite a lot of technical difficulties filming this video. I'm sure it's not the cleanest, best video in the world. So all of you that stuck around, thank you. All right, I'm going to thank you. I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to put a little thank you in there. Okay? And everyone else, all you guys, subscribe or the bomb that I